NBA player is around $12 million. And I think what most people don't know is the average salary of a WNBA player is about $130,000.
What?
I know that.
Yeah. Wow. I know you know that, right?
That's quite a jump.
Now, that is why players like Brittany Griner and you play in Russia so that they can make a living for their families. What do you think it's going to take?
They pay better. That's the freak.
It does. They pay better in Russia. So let me ask you this. What do you think it will take for WNBA players to start making higher salaries and being paid what you are worth?
And not having to go to Russia.
Yeah. I mean, I spent 10 long, cold years in Russia. And I always said I had to be paid like a capitalist in a communist country, which is, boy, isn't that funny, huh?
Yeah.
Well, not that funny. But you know what? That disparity in wages is something that we've always talked about. And, you know, it's times like this where it's this beautiful movement, but it has to translate into our lives being better as professional athletes.
Yes.
And that comes with our income.
Yeah.
Obviously, the off-the-court stuff is booming right now. But you would like to get paid for what you are the best in the world at. And that's what the WNBA is.
I never understand this whole conversation because I learned in economics that it's supply and demand. If you're pulling in the tickets and people are paying, why don't they pay you more?
Well, and let's get to that because last year the WNBA delivered the most watched regular season in 24 years and in the highest attendance in 22 years, setting records for digital consumption too for folks watching and merchandise sales. How do we keep, for those of us who love women in sports and love what the WNBA is doing right now, how do we keep that momentum going?
I think, well, it's a challenge for women, for us to support each other. As we know, you're going to long lengths to make sure all women's sports are on TV, which that's the thing that's always been the most important is visibility. When you learn about these athletes at an early age, like we are now with the Caitlin Clarks and the Angel Reeses and the Pages, like you get to follow their stories, which they did, you know, in the 90s and 2000s, but not at the length with social media. And that light is really what's going to make this sport go forward.
And the next generation of players.
And this next generation is bullish. They don't just shut up and dribble like we did.
Shut up and dribble.
They're loud.
Well, that's what America has to recognize. One of the great things is that women have changed. And the okie doke doesn't work for them anymore. So all those ways that people say, well, you know, well, we got you. No, they're saying, no, we see how you do it now. We've watched it, and there's no reason you can't do it with us. And I'm telling you, women's sports from around the world, getting what used to be tops, you know, the bubblegum cards, getting those for women, that is what I want to see. For all women in sports, because unless you have the visibility, they're not going to talk about it.
You mean like an all women sports network, like you've created?
Something like that would be good.
I would like that. I mean, I'm not a big sports person.
But this isn't a sports show.
But I'm not that good at sports.
will be.
But I'm interested in you. Because you are the GOAT. And I like that. I mean, that interests me. And also these other young women, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, are coming up behind you. So what would you say is that
what the fuck is going on here? I was trying, bro. Let me finish.
A career like yours.
You know, it's hard to give them advice because when I started playing was just a completely different landscape of, you know, what our generation kind of had to fight through and the things that we went through. But at the same time, you have to keep the main thing the main thing. Like, we have to make sure this is the best product on the court. And, you know, there's a lot of distractions now with sponsorship and endorsements and, you know, TV appearances, which is amazing, but you have to make sure the product is elite.
Yeah, Angel Reese, take notes. The podcast and all that stuff, leave it to the side. We got to make sure the product is a good product. Got to make sure it's a good product. Now, this lady right here, not sure what she's talking about.
I learned in economics that it's supply and demand. If you're pulling in the tickets and people...
Who's pulling in the tickets? Caitlin Clark's pulling in the tickets. Yeah, they'll get some tickets in Phoenix. The Mercury sells some tickets. So I'm not going to put them in a range where it's like they're awful, but they don't do what Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever do. And clearly, no matter, everybody just wants this higher pay. It seems like everybody wants higher pay. Dude, the league still has $45 million in the toilet. And now you're talking about you've been in the league for the past 20 years. Well, the league hasn't had, they haven't made any money in the past 20 years. You're talking about you want to get paid higher. These girls need to get paid higher. you're right. It's a booming time in the women's sports. And yes, Caitlin Clark has a huge part to do with that. I understand where you're coming from, where the Paige and all these other girls are naming, the Angels and stuff like that. I think everybody needs to worry about, like Diana says, let's put the best product on the court, because obviously it hasn't been the best product. If it were the best product, we'd be watching like we watch Caitlin Clark. And then maybe you guys would be getting paid $500 to $1 million salaries. But clearly, when you want to mention Angel Reese, let's talk about Angel Reese. Clearly, when you talk about Angel Reese, that's not the best product out there. Blowing layups left and right. You think fans want to watch basketball like that? Old heads are going to see that and turn that right off. Think about, oh, this is what you want to get paid for? This is what you want me to pay you $500,000 $1 million for, to go blow layups? To argue, to hate on women? Pretty much what you're saying. And no discredit to Diana, man. You know, wonderful career. One of a kind. You can't deny that. One of the best players we've ever seen play on the women's side. I'm not going to say she's the GOAT, she's this, she's that. Obviously, she's going to get her flowers right now from everybody because she is retiring. Yes, she is a GOAT. She is one of the greatest of all time. She is. Will she be the number one GOAT? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But there's going to always be another GOAT, another GOAT, another GOAT. Give her flowers. I know what has been said with Caitlyn and all these things, but hey, give Diana her flowers, and we'll move on from it. And then now it's time for Caitlyn to take over. Well, she's already taken over, but now you know what I mean. It's go time. So I would say like this. As far as the what comes in must go out to the players, like, hey, if you were selling, I don't know, let's just say Caitlin Clark, I'm looking at tickets for Caitlin Clark just to get into the Sparks game, it's $700 when they're playing Indiana. For the seats I'm going to be in. I'm not going up to the nosebleeds. I'm either paying $2,500 to sit courtside, or I'm going to be sitting right behind the Indiana Fever bench for $700 to $1,000. Where I can see what I want to see in the Indiana Fever, right? So if you could be selling tickets like that, everyone across the league, if you could be doing what Indiana Fever does across the league, then it would be a supply and demand thing. But guess what? It's a one-way street around the WNBA, whoever that was speaking. I wish it could be a full effort thing. And maybe Diana's right. Maybe we should put all of this TikTok stuff down. Let's put everything aside. Let's really focus on the product. And I think that's what would be best for the whole league. Because at the end of the day, even if Caitlin Clark, if she wasn't a good basketball player, we wouldn't watch her the way we watch her. It's a good product. She's very young. She speaks very highly. She makes her team better. The games are exciting. It's what fans want to see. So that's just what it is, man. And I'm sure the girls will get paid eventually. I want them to be paid. But at the same time, I want you guys to contribute to the league. Contribute. And we have to acknowledge the girls that will be contributing what they can. Obviously, we know there will never be a CC22 impact or effect on the W again. At least not anytime soon. With the girls that they try to put in that category, Paige, Juju, Hidalgo, it's not happening. None of them will ever be that big or have a fan base like that. It's just not going to happen. So that's really all I got. I just think the girls got to stop complaining, because they've been complaining since Caitlin Clark got in the league, and they were complaining before. And it's still, nothing is changing. Like, you can argue, like, Caitlin Clark is the reason things are changing. Period. So when these women are speaking like so highly, like, oh my God, you guys are having the viewership numbers go up since last year, and you guys are getting the fans and selling tickets. No, you're not. No, you're not. It's the same situation. Literally the same situation year after year after year. So, I don't know. Shout out to Diana, but as far as everybody, Natasha asking for more money, it's just like everybody wants more money, more money, more money. And now we're saying, oh, girls are not settling for this. Don't forget that it's still women's basketball. The product has to be good. No one's dunking, nothing. There's possessions literally in some of these games where it's missed, like miss shot, miss this, miss for 5 minutes straight. So that's really all I got. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not saying the league can never get to that point where these girls can't get paid like that. I'm sure they will. But like Diana said, that's the number one thing that I recognize from this pod or from this interview. Put everything else aside, all the brand deals, everything that you're doing on the outside and worried about, and focus on the product. Once you could do that, you'll give the audience no choice but to pay attention. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. Let me know what you guys think. I'm out.